Okay, we are officially live, although I'm going to wait maybe 1.5 minutes just in case we have some people jumping on. But I'm going to use that time to share my screen and make sure everything's working appropriately.
Beautiful.
Can you see, are you seeing the website right now?
I am seeing the website. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're off to a really fine start, Sarah.
Perfect. Wonderful. Welcome, Philip. Hopefully you're having a wonderful Thursday.
Felipe, Felipe,
Felipe or Philip. Felipe.
just in case. We'll cover both.
Yes. I had a feeling it started with the Blakely when I was watching the video.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually on the Bannock and it's not,
Oh.
it's like a big Blakely because it only has the two bed. We got rid of one of the bedrooms to make the hallway.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But yeah, yeah. You know what you're looking at. You're right.
I
You're
did.
right on track.
I was. I had a good feeling.
I'm really excited about this house.
Mm-hmm. The ADU is quite large.
I know, yeah. Okay, 30 more seconds and we will get going.
Perfect.
I'm just gonna start by apologizing for my voice and whatever's happening right now. I think I'm fine. I just sound weird, but if you see me like just fall out of my chair or something, just pick it up and run with it. Just keep talking. The show must go on. The house is
The
too good.
show must go on.
Mm.
Roger.
Just we won't miss a beat.
Mm-hmm. I expect nothing less.
Video, floor plans, website. Let's do it. Okay. Well,
Perfect.
welcome everyone. Thank you for joining. Um, I am Katie. I'm a homeownership counselor for Adair, and I work in Adair's Creswell, Oregon branch. So I cover, we call it the Mid-Willamette Valley, which is like the Eugene area. So Lane County, Lynn County, Benton County, Douglas County, Coos County. And my co-host, Sarah, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Sarah. I am a homeownership counselor out of our Woodland, Washington branch. So I service all of Southwest Washington, so Pacific County, Wahkiakum, Cowlitz, Clark County, Skamania, Klickitat as well. And then I also go into Oregon counties and I service Columbia and Clatsop counties over there as well.
Beautiful. Sarah and I are both, I'm going to say, Adair enthusiasts, and we both love to talk. So please throw out your questions as we go. We're going to try to stop regularly and answer any questions. And yeah, we love the interaction. We love to have kind of the subjects, whether they're relevant to what we're talking about or not, we will go down any rabbit hole. Um, but the agenda for today, so we are going to talk a little bit about the website, and then we're going to look at the specific floor plans of the house we're showing you today. And then we'll watch the video and then kind of wrap up with how a build comes together and basically the steps separating you from where you are now in ordering a house with Adair. So first thing, what you're looking at now is adairhomes.com. And you can see there's so many good resources on our website, but under our plans, you can see all of our current pre-engineered plans. And if you have a zip code entered, it will show you for that specific area, the price of that house in that zip code. So pricing is always up to date on the website. It's the best place to see current pricing for any floor plan. But the thing to know about the website and about the floor plans is that you are not limited to what you see on the site. So if you're looking through the floor plans and you're like, ah, you know what, I love this Bannock plan that they're showing, but I could really use a larger great room or a third car garage bay or what have you. Um, there's a lot of ways to go about perfecting the house. So you can take one of our plans, maybe change out some flooring and some paint and call it good. You could take one of our plans and move some walls and add some square footage and add some windows and call it good. You could go to our custom homes folder and look at all of our previously built custom homes and see if maybe there's a plan in there that works better for you. Or you could just full on draw out what you need or maybe find online a floor plan that better suits your needs and present those to us, and we can go that path as well. So the goal is to just get you into a home that suits you, fits your budget, fits your property requirements, fits all of your needs. And there's so many ways to get to that finish line. Anything to add there, Sarah?
No, that was a great introduction to the website. Lots of blog posts on here, lots of really good information that you can click through and look at. And then for the level of participation today, if you do have any questions, please go ahead and use the Q&A tab through the functionality of this virtual. The chat is just a little laggy, so we don't get the questions simultaneously right away. So please use the Q&A, and then as we are going through today, I'm managing all those questions, so I'll read them off to Katie and she'll be able to answer them for us.
Or if they're too hard, I'll just throw them back to you. Take a
Yeah.
water break, convenient timing.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so the house that we're showing today, I am really excited about. We call it a multi-generational build. But what it ultimately ended up being was a fully custom build. However, the family took two of our standard plans and essentially mashed them together. So one side of the house was generally the Bannock plan, and the
Mhm.
other side was generally our Winchester plan. And then we just had this group meeting with our drafting department, mashed the two plans together, and came up with a plan that worked for this multi-generational living situation. Um, Multi-generational has been a big thing. I think in my years here, just in the last couple of years, it's kind of, I mean, really blown up, at least in my office. Are you seeing a lot in your office as well?
I am seeing a lot, yeah. A lot of different circumstances, but a lot of attached ADUs, modified ADUs, multi-generational living, or wanting supplement rental income. But yeah, it's become really popular over the last couple of years.
Yeah, yeah, and just like Sarah said, it can be the route of an actual ADU or a detached ADU, or in this case, we basically just made one really big house. So it wasn't officially or technically an ADU. And we basically come to that determination based on the jurisdiction and the family and just goals and budgetary needs and what we can do within any of those restrictions. This family, so it's mom and daughter basically that are kind of merging together. So togetherness, but a little bit of independence. It was the goal really. And so we didn't go the full ADU route. We just made a really big house. So one side of it being essentially this Bannock plan, and I'll show you. I'm going to open up their plans. So you can see this is what used to be the Bannock. We have that added third car bay. We moved the kitchen back here to this back wall. And then on the other side, so we've added this hallway that just connects another kind of living space, bedroom setup, and a dual primary suite over here. And then not a full kitchen on this side of the house, but more of like a wet bar type area. And that I don't think this family would have been opposed to two full kitchens, but the jurisdiction was. So we originally actually designed this with two full kitchens, two full garages, and the county shut us down and said, nope, that's pushing it. It looks like two separate houses smashed together, which is exactly what it was. So we regrouped, changed a few things, made sure we stayed within their parameters of what was okay. And this is what we came up with. I know this is really hard to look at, especially with it. Yeah, it's busy. We've got a lot going on here. Sarah, anything to add before I flash to the video?
No, I would just say when it comes to something like this, the functionality of how these spaces work is completely up to you. You sort of drive that conversation. We're seeing a separate living space that is quite large. You aren't limited to that by any means. I think what we start our smallest like accessory unit at 512 square feet. And then you can modify from there. So it really is anything that you want catered to your preferences is what we can do.
Yes, I think if we were calling this an actual ADU, it would have been main house and then more like this section right here. So this is not so much an ADU situation, but a full, just really large house. And I'm gonna flash back to the website for just 1 second. So one more thought, as you're looking at the website, you'll see that we have kind of these preset exterior elevation options. And the one we're looking at today was kind of a Craftsman. And the elevations are just purely aesthetic, so their exterior look. But the thing to note here again is that these can all be modified. So if you're someone who is like, I kind of like the traditions, but I also like aspects of the farmhouse or even the Craftsman, you can merge pieces of those all together to create your own style. But as always, the goal is just getting the home that suits you. So I'm going to pull up the video and you can see what we are talking about. That's not what I meant to open. That is. And we're gonna play it all the way through by popular demand. So Sarah and I will just kind of talk a little bit without pausing it as we let the video play. And then we'll go back and we'll pause and we'll talk a lot more about what you're seeing in depth. But playing this, it was getting dark as we did the drone footage, but I do want to point out the river back here, which you'll see once we get in the house, was the kind of the driving force behind the rear wall of the house being almost all window.
Very pretty.
But you'll see as we get closer to, so they took, rather than the cedar shape that is typically in the front elevation of our Craftsman orientation, they did more of an open, roughs on crow's foot timber style design at their front entries. And that's a popular request that I get. I don't know if it is in your area as well, but yes. So
It is, yeah.
again, just totally customized. They've still got those 2 entries. Oh, sorry, just kind of sabotage the video. I wish it was a little bit lighter for the front shots of the elevation, but kind of craftsman-y except for with their own take on it. And then this was also an older spec. So we changed our base spec about, I think we decided yesterday, it was about a year ago now. And we'll kind of, when we go back through again, we'll talk more about what is now standard versus some of our older standards from the time when they ordered this house. But this is we'll call it the main house or the main side of the house. We're currently in that common space, dining room, kitchen, great room.
Which they flip-flopped.
Yes, yep. Move the kitchen to the back wall and then boom, river views, atrium doors, lots of just picture windows on the back walls. I love it.
Very pretty floors in here as well.
Yes, yep. The fireplaces, and then we did keep a standard 8-foot ceiling in the whole house, but we have a lot of vaulting. And the vaulting just obviously opens it up so much. And another thing I was wondering, I was gonna see if you noticed this, but from one side of the house to the other. So on this side of the house, she liked the black fixtures, black hinges, black doorknobs. And on the other side of the house, it was strictly brushed nickel. So brushed nickel
Oh,
doorknobs,
different
brushed.
styles.
Yeah.
That's always fun.
Mm-hmm.
I do love a black grout.
Yes, I do too. And a farm sink.
Yes. Classic.
Classic. Yeah, and just a sink under a window. I'm a big fan of.
Yeah. Well, with that view, if I'm washing dishes, I would want to look.
100%. Yeah.
Ooh, very nice pantry.
Big pantry. Yeah. So this is the main primary suite, separate vaulted ceiling in here. And then again, just views.
What river is that?
Mackenzie.
Mm.
Yeah. Now I'm questioning that. 98% sure it's the Mackenzie. They did take the standard walk-in closet in this plan and kind of stretch it out to reach that exterior wall. Because usually we leave just that little bit of shop space in the garage rather than extending that closet, which would make more sense if I was showing you that on the plans, but closet extended. And then it's an engineered hardwood floor, but yeah, I absolutely love it. It's beautiful.
Very pretty.
Standard cabinet in this bathroom. subway tile backsplash, standard shower,
Is that our clear stain?
and it's bourbon. It's a bourbon.
Oh,
Yeah. And then,
nice open concept.
yes,
Is also very popular.
yes. Kind of this dim space, which could absolutely be another bedroom had they wanted it. The grids on the window that we consider to be kind of a craftsman style grid pattern. You could keep them, leave them, change them. I'm finding that there are 1,000,001 different ways to grid windows that
Yes.
I previously was unaware of. And then this utility room with closet space. We added the furnace enclosure in this one. So furnace behind that door and then garage on the other side. And then this house, although we didn't officially call it an ADU or a duplex, we do have separate water heaters, separate heat pumps, separate furnaces, so kind of all zoned separately, running on their own controls, however, still considered one home.
Yeah, that's nice. That way, if somebody likes it warmer than the other,
Exactly.
get to
Yeah.
choose.
Powder room, half bath, all standard in here. This is a family of plumbers or plumbing connections, and so they opted to just leave all plumbing fixtures standard, and they figured they'd change them out on their own down the line. If
Nice.
you were wondering why the brushed nickel plumbing fixtures would black everything else. And then the
Okay, that's kind of, sometimes plumbing fixtures are very particular and
yeah,
it's hard to source at an expected price point.
yes,
You're purchasing on behalf of the customer and installing. So that is popular for people to sort of, allow for standards to be done in the house. That way they can move in, get a good feel for their style, and then sort of pick and choose along the way what you change.
absolutely. I've actually noticed too the mixed metals have kind of become a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So not unusual to just keep that brushed with the black.
Mm-hmm.
I do love when the bathrooms are split like this to have the kind of toilet and tub shower in their own space separate from the vanity.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then,
Especially with like you and your boys, like you can have
yes,
one in one space and then the other one can still brush their teeth and such.
yes, save some battles
Yeah.
in theory. And then this is the hallway, so you could easily shut that door and kind of
Uh-huh.
close the two living spaces off from each other. The hallway now going into the smaller house, or I call it mom's side of the house.
Okay.
And then I think we ended up calling this the bonus space.
Hmm.
You've got her kitchenette, and then we just mirrored the same window layout from the opposite sides. You have the atrium door and the two fixed
Hmm.
windows, a little bit smaller, facing the river again. And then
That way it's symmetrical.
same fireplace, same floor carried throughout the whole house, which I love. The floor plus the vaults just makes the whole thing feel even, not that it's not already a big house, but open
Mhm.
and large and fluid.
Very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And they get the same door on each. Notice
Yep, same,
that.
same door, same
Very-
stain.
Is
And
that a
then
little pantry?
it is, yeah. So from the Winchester, we kind of combined two closets to make a pantry space here.
Hmm.
And then we left wiring in the floor there. So if someday they ever wanted kind of an island or workspace, they could easily add one.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
I like how symmetrical that fireplace is. So if she wanted to do built-ins and such on each side.
I do
Very
too.
nice.
I do too. Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing is just clean and I like all of it.
Hmm.
There were still, and Sarah, you say this every time, and I think it's a good point, but when we come in to get pictures, it's a real timing game. Like we want the house to be as complete as possible without obstructing or delaying move-in. And so we got in here before this room was finished with flooring and baseboards. Um, so that's why you were seeing that one unfinished room. Otherwise,
Under construction.
under construction. Yep. And secondary bedroom, river views again. Standard bypass doors on the closet, standard carpet in this room. And flat ceilings, and I think with the 8-foot ceiling in there, I don't know if it's the paint or the window or what, but it still feels a nice, open, big space.
Mhm.
And then we did do a tile shower in this bathroom.
Very nice, with the fiberglass base and grab bars.
And grab bars, yep. Still the
Mhm.
bourbon stain, but a different door style on the cabinets in there. The attic hatch, I just recently was asked what our attic hatches look like for the first time. Uh,
Uh-huh.
and although I've been at this for years now and I live in an Adair house, I could not for the life of me picture what the attic hatches looked like. So now I'm
Uh-huh.
seeing them everywhere and I'm like, oh, duh.
Yeah.
So this is the dual, we're calling it the dual primary suite. We have the vaulted ceiling in here as well.
Very nice.
And then the dual primary bathroom, which this bathroom as a standard is just a little bit smaller. So there's not quite room for the separate tub and shower.
Mhm.
So we just went ahead and did just a shower, added some storage to the vanity, which is nice, kind of that full height linen space,
Mhm.
and then a good sized closet here as well. I think the Winchester is one of the most popular, if not the most popular, under 2,000 square foot floor plans. Am I right, or am I making
I
that up?
would say, oh yeah,
Yeah.
hands down. Yeah, I probably
Okay.
build more of the Winchester than any other plan.
Okay. Interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's just a good place, a good, efficient. My brother built this plan. I like
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
Bias.
It's nice because it's so popular because it's a manageable size. It's where we introduce, the primary on one side of the house and all the bedrooms on the other, so you aren't sharing a
Yes.
home. So I
Mhm.
find that it's a really popular plan for like beginning families, but also like empty nesters to be able to like have that flexibility and all of that stuff.
Absolutely. Utility room number 2. So you got a second set of washer dryer connections over here.
Very nice.
Standard shelf above the washer and dryer.
Mm-hmm. Is that where does that door go?
That door goes to a storage room. So originally we
Oh,
had
okay.
planned for a garage out
Very
front,
nice.
and the county told us no, so we did
A
just an
freezer.
unfinished storage space.
Nice.
Okay, we're gonna play it one more time. Are we all caught up on questions?
We are. So currently there isn't any questions coming through. So as we're gonna run it through a second time, naturally, like Katie said, we like to talk. So we'll pause, we'll talk
Yeah.
through what we're seeing, standard, what customers did. But if there's anything in particular you have a question about, it could be about financing, it could be about finding the right piece of property, it could be about anything. Just feel free to drop those into the Q&A, and then Katie and I will take the time to answer them for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
Okay, so playing again this time, a lot more choppy because we'll pause it regularly.
Yeah.
It is such a beautiful, I love the drone footage. We've talked about this. The drone
Mhm.
footage is perfection. I wish it was just a tiny bit earlier in the night.
Yeah.
The
1 hour
photographer
earlier, please.
the photographer said that he actually had been chatting with the homeowners and time kind of got away from him. So he was there earlier and then just
Uh-huh.
got struck up a conversation, and next thing he knew it was dark out.
Oh,
But
no.
it's still
Uh-huh.
kind of amazing to see it with all the lights on. And
It is cool. When you kind of dropped down and we were looking at the front of the house, did we want to take some time to talk about site development?
I think we do.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so we will pause here. Site development, which we'll talk about a little bit more, and we're kind of wrapping up with how a project comes together, but site development. So Sarah and I both work in branches now that are offering site services, which just means that Adair is handling the project beginning to end. So we want to come early on and assess the property and put together a report and a budget for all of the work required to happen to the property before a home is built. And then we manage it beginning to end. So, like you said yesterday, we'll put in the well and the septic, and we'll do the dirt work, and we'll get the soil testing done, which is a fairly recent change for Adair. We used to kind of have homeowner participation as far as we would tell you what needed done, and then you would essentially go forth and work with contractors to get the land prepared. So this has been an amazing change. It really helps kind of streamline the process and then alleviates a workload from a homeowner. Uh,
Mhm.
this particular build happened pre-site services, so they worked with their own contractors to prepare the land and get it ready for us, and we kind of just held their hand and talked them through the requirements. Um, Now with site services, we could have done all of this for them. We could have poured concrete, whatever was needed essentially at the property, they could have opted to have us just handle for them. Do you have anything to add to that? I'll take a water break.
Yeah, no, yeah, so we essentially say that it's full service. So, not only does it just pertain to the dirt on the site, but as well as like building permits. We're going to take that workload off of you as well. We're going to manage that. Sometimes that can be the funnest part of a project. So us just being well versed, delivering the plans to be able to handle that for you and streamline is really nice. So currently with us, a customer's only responsibility is kind of like that finance aspect. How are we going to pay for the project? And that's really all that you have to manage nowadays.
Yes, and I think, which we'll talk about this a little bit more as well, but a lot of times people kind of come to meet with us for a first time and they have this expectation that they'll need to have all of this money in pocket to
Mhm.
pay for this type of stuff, or building permits or pay for the land out of pocket, and that's not the case. So we'll dive into that a bit more, but as far as your financing goes, your construction loan is really built to pay for the entire project as far as the land and any site work required and the house. So it's a really, from the outside looking in, the idea of building can be kind of daunting. It's
Mhm.
fairly user friendly, especially now with site services and Adair just managing beginning to end. So
Yeah, it
hopefully
is.
we clear any misconceptions up as we go.
Absolutely. And now, as you unpause and we're going to transition into the house, we had a really good question come across. So if you wanted to unpause, that way we
I
can
do. I
reach
want
into
to
home.
I want to talk about just a few things here
Okay.
before we go
Yeah.
in. So, gosh, so dark.
I know,
So
but it's
dark.
so pretty.
It is so pretty. So a couple of things we kind of talked about as we were looking at the website, but on the outside of the house, we all of our siding all the way around is James Hardy.
Hmm.
Typically with a Craftsman elevation, we would do a lap siding and then a batten board and then a cedar shake up here in the gables. These guys added just this crow's foot and the rough sawn kind of look here at the entries. Otherwise, this is very standard Craftsman for us. And then we have with our Craftsman package, there's a certain window grid and a certain door and a certain garage door that are included in that, but they can all be swapped out. So if you are someone who's thinking like, oh, you know what, I love the siding style, or I love this entryway, but I don't love the window grids, or I don't love the garage door, or maybe the Craftsman style lights, you can take bits and pieces from any package or even create a package of your own. We'll play a little bit more so you can get to your
Yeah,
question.
no worries, no worries. Yeah, it just is you can pick and choose, yeah, what you like, and modify it to be exactly what you prefer. So a question that came through is, what is the process of choosing and looking at flooring, tile, and different finishes inside the home?
Okay, that's a really good question. So when you get to the point in your process where you are really focusing on the house and pricing out the house, your homeownership counselor, so someone like Sarah or I, is going to have a design meeting with you. In that meeting, we're going to show you in our design centers. Some of us have model homes. You have a model home, I don't. But we're going to show you here are the floorings that are included in the base price of the home. And then if you're like, oh, you know what, I'd rather have maybe a plank flooring in my great room than a carpet, we'll show you, okay, here are the options for that. And then we would price it out for you. And one thing I like about the pricing process is that it's very transparent. So we can say, okay, you know what, if you want to just change out the standard flooring, say in the den to a tile, it's this much. So then you can kind of weigh your options, price out multiple things maybe, and find that perfect option that fits within the budget. Anything
Yeah.
to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say we typically, yeah, allow you to drive that bus. We use a lot of really well-known national brands. We're going to use Shaw for our flooring. We're going to use Emser for our tile. We've got Moen for our plumbing fixtures. So these are, well-known, vast companies. So, but the only thing I will say is, it's our design centers are a bit overwhelming. We've got a lot of options. So if that's something you're worried about, we do have, probably over 30 different floors. We've got over 20 different tile options. So there's a lot to choose from, but we're also not necessarily limited to what we have in our design centers. Like I mentioned, Shaw being a national brand, I can't outsource something specific from them. Same with the tile. The only expectation that somebody like Katie and myself would set is just sort of the pricing difference, when we kind of step outside of the product that we're ordering in bulk on on a pretty, what am I trying to say? On a regular basis, versus like one-off. So that's the only thing, but you've got quite a bit of choices. The one thing I always let my customers know is if you're feeling like you don't necessarily know where you want to take your look at your house, or you're feeling overwhelmed with it, just spend some time on our website. Each of our houses have 20 plus pictures. Some of them have over 80 pictures. If it's not a floor plan you're interested in, that's okay. Still take some time to look through the photos, because if it's on the website, we've created it. So then we can get a good feel for your interior style preferences and be able to repick those selections for your home within our design center. So I see that it's a really nice tool for a lot of my customers to use if you just aren't quite sure where you want to go with the interior.
That's perfect. Yep.
Yeah, and so you can go ahead, we can look a little bit more and we'll move on to the next question. So do we have any models with porches?
Do we have like as in model homes or standards with porches?
I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Andrea, but it might be, do we have any homes, like a standard homes that will come with porches already included with them?
Interesting. Okay, so as far as porches, if we are talking porch covers, all of the homes come with a standard covered front entry area. And I think we have two plans now that come with a covered back patio area.
Mhm.
But then
And
as
that
far
is
as,
something that we're leaning into coming into the next
yes,
year. So
yeah, the outdoor
out,
living concept. Okay.
outdoor living is on the horizon for us. So for us
Mhm.
currently, Andrea, the two homes that have standard porches in the base price are going to be the Saratoga. She's right around 2,200 square feet. And then the Eden, which is going to be a little bit larger, it's the bigger sister, comes with a bonus room. I believe that one is just around 2,600. And so those already have porches included. We have some that have like a cantilevered cover in the back, so like a 4 foot overhang. Otherwise, let's say you found a plan on our website that you absolutely loved. Like something like the Bannock, Katie had it up. We could see the back side of that house. We naturally see that a patio cover isn't automatically there. We can add the patio covers to any home if it didn't already have it. And we price those per square foot. And the reason why we do that is so that you can kind of have the power in regards to what size and what price you want to pay. Are we doing a 10 by 12? Are we maybe going to do an 8 foot deep by 20 foot wide? That pricing can range, in regards to what the exterior looks like. And so then that would be priced anywhere from like about 95 to 98 a square foot. But front porches, we include that on all of the plans. And so each home will have a front porch automatically. Depending on the initial look, they could be larger. So something like our farmhouse and our craftsman exteriors, you'll see that they're priced a little different on the website. And part of that is when you go to craftsman or farmhouse on our homes, a lot of times that's going to come with an elevated front look and a larger front covering automatically in that pricing.
Yeah. As far as too, and you touched on like the added per square foot for porch covers or patio covers, that would include, wraparound porches and some of our plans have kind of a pre-engineered so you can see what the plan would look like were you to add a wraparound or a side porch or a full length rear porch. But the option is always there.
Oh yeah, especially for the front door. Even when we're doing something like this, if we're adding another unit or if we are doing a traditional ADU, we will also include that front porch under the front door or above the front door. You know,
Yeah,
nobody wants to be fiddling with their keys and get rained on.
in a torrential downpour. Right, yep.
Yeah, uh-huh. Um, so I'll stab at this next question and you can, if you wanted to unpause, you can feel free. But in
Oh,
Washington, so the question is, in Washington, I've heard that solar panels were now required on new construction. Have you found that to be the case when you build in Washington? So when it comes to those solar panels, they're not required, no, unless you start to get to a certain size of house. So for myself, I primarily specialize in Washington, and it was kind of talked about at one point, but then vetoed. It was voted against. It's just an unrealistic expectation for that to be a requirement, especially with the need for housing being so high and how that drives up the price. So that got voted off the ballot and completely vetoed. The only time we see a need for solar panels is if we're building a residential home over 5,000 square feet. Okay, so if you do plan to build a home of that size, I've done a couple, more points are needed to achieve your energy credit requirements. Okay. And a really easy way to achieve those points is to install solar panels. It allows you to get those points relatively quickly. But if you're just building a normal house, let's say 1,800 square feet, 2,600 square feet, even like 3,200 square feet, solar panels are not going to be required for you to build that home.
okay. I'm gonna say pause here for a minute, just to point out some things. So earlier we kind of mentioned the changes to our base spec. So um, this house was built before our most recent spec change. However, a lot of the upgrades that they did are now part of our standard,
Mhm.
which is really handy. And I talked about this yesterday when we did our live event, but I do love that Adair is constantly trying to stay relevant. So what they'll do is if they see that, for example, the Craftsman style trim, if they see that, 80% of our builds are upgrading to a Craftsman style trim, they'll just make it a standard as part of the base price. They'll say, you know what, no one is loving the colonial anymore. We're gonna take this popular Craftsman and just add it into our base. Um,
Mhm.
so this Craftsman style trim is one of two standard options now. They have a profiled base. Ours is now a flat stock. But yes, so a nice standard trim package. The 2-panel door is now our standard interior door style. And then the front door you're seeing is the one that we include with our Craftsman elevations. It is a fiber core door. It's a stained grade fiberglass door, but there's probably 30 other choices if you don't love the door that comes with it.
Mhm.
So,
It's also stain grade, and you've got several options on what you want to stain it. And what I'll say, we're throwing around the word spec, spec change, spec. All it means is what Adair is going to automatically include in the base price that you see online. Like, what are those features that you're automatically getting in that price? Such as, interior, exterior paint, that trim that Katie just touched on, the doors, things like that are part of our standard standard specifications, and they're in the base price of our homes.
okay, I'm gonna pause right here to talk about the kitchen for
Mhm.
a while. So the kitchen, so many things to note. At a base price, at a standard, the home is considered a move-in ready home, with the exception of refrigerator, washer, dryer. So you could take the price that you see online for a house and leave it exactly as is, and it would be ready for you to move in and live in. Or you could take and modify and change to your heart's desire. So on this particular one, they deleted our standard appliance package and they upgraded to what we call our gourmet package. So they now have a 36-inch gas cooktop and 2 built-in ovens here and then a built-in microwave. And then you could do any variation of that package, or you could just delete the appliances altogether and provide your own. I'm working with someone right now who's providing their own 48-inch range and a separate freestanding fridge and freezer, and we're doing panels for the front of the fridge and the dishwasher. So there's a lot of different ways to go about perfecting your kitchen, or just the whole house in general.
Mhm.
The cabinets that you see here on the island are standard, so just a stained grade recessed panel cabinet style. And then they opted to just upgrade the cabinets on the perimeter. So they did a painted on the perimeter, kept a standard at the island, and then you'll see in the bathrooms, they did a separate standard. The cabinets can be modified and changed in so many ways. You could do open shelving, trash pullouts, pull-out shelves, all drawers. You could increase the height of them. There's the kitchen is a huge topic of conversation at your design appointment, and we've seen a little bit of everything done and designed in the last couple of years. So kitchen is such a fun way or fun point. To really kind of make this house your own. And these guys, you'll see just from one kitchen to the kitchenette, they went totally different directions with them.
Mhm.
We've
Those
got the subway tile, full height, the black
Mhm.
backsplash, the black finished edge, matching their black poles. I'll play a little bit more. Go ahead, Sarah.
I was just gonna say the nice thing is we are all a carte, so you get to pick and choose where you want to spend your money. So as you'll see, you've got the white painted cabinet in here, but we've got a bourbon cabinet in the bathroom. So that bourbon count cabinet, that's standard. That's in the base price of our homes. So they chose to invest their money in the kitchen for the focal point, but not upgrade the bathrooms. They didn't feel a need.
Yep. That's perfect. And then same thing goes with these other things you're seeing in here. So we've got the picture windows and the atrium door. Had they wanted to do a 12-foot 4-panel sliding door, or maybe a 3-panel stacking door, or just big windows and a single door, who knows? The sky's the limit there for that back wall as far as maximizing view and glass. And then
Mhm.
the fireplace too, we did a propane. So we did an LP conversion on a gas fireplace. You could do wood, pellet, electric. Um, you could have raised it and wrapped it in stone. So the idea is just fully, within your budget, making sure that the house suits you and your style and your needs. There's so many ways to do it.
Perfect. And so we've got another question. So are laundry rooms a standard feature? And can we share some model names of homes that have laundry rooms?
I think all of our plans have a standard utility room with the exception of some of the smaller ones. So like the Douglas just has a laundry closet.
Mhm.
The Ainsworth has a laundry closet. I believe those are the only two aside from ADUs. I think all of the rest of our plans have a standard room. Am I missing?
Yeah, so once
Yeah.
we get, yeah, like I think that's once we reach the Beverly, because I think the rhododendron and the cottonwood, they just got the
Ah,
closets as
they have a
well.
closet. Yep.
But once we reach the Beverly, so that one's about 1,300 square feet, all the homes are gonna have a utility room. Until we grow to a certain size, that utility room typically functions as like the bypass from the garage into the home. So it's not spacious, I guess is the best way to put it. Once we reach our houses that get to about 2,100 square feet, you're going to see those laundry rooms really open up. So some plans that have, high functioning laundry rooms would be homes like the Beverly, the Saratoga is going to have a really functional utility room. Same with the Bannock, like we're looking at today. So if you like the utility room that we saw here in this video, that is the same utility room, laundry room that is in the Blakely, the Saratoga, and the Bannock. You start to introduce a mud room versus a laundry room once we get to a plan like the Louisville. So if you like the idea of maybe having a mud room, a drop zone independent of a laundry room, that would be a functionality of a plan like the Louisville, the St. Helens. I know the Mount Rainier has that as well if you'd like to have separate spaces.
I paused here. I'm actually going to go back just a tiny bit to this window. So a couple of things. You'll see this windowsill and apron here. I know every time I point at the screen, it makes it dark, so I need to quit doing that. But as a standard, our house has drywall wrapped windows, so kind of a very clean, simplistic design. You could choose to add the sill apron like they did. You could choose to do a full wrap kind of picture frame style trim kit. And then you can also pick and choose like whole house window trim or just certain windows. But standard, we're gonna of course do all of the baseboards and the door wraps. And then from there, you can choose where and if you want to spend money on these things. And then you can pick your style and stain grade or paint grade and just like Sarah was saying, very transparent pricing. Do you want to spend money here and what's your style? What's the look you're going for?
Mhm. Or you just leave them drywall and you could finish them over time. Some of
Leave
my
and
customers
draw.
choose that. Naturally Craftsman is a very forgiving trim. So you
Yes.
don't have to be a professional. I did it, and I am not a professional.
Yeah. Do what I do. Leave them all drywall wrapped. As your kids slowly use permanent marker in the windowsills, you just one at a time start trimming them out. So that's been fun as well. Just when you think you've gotten rid of all permanent markers, they find them. Okay, so into this bathroom. This is a really good sized bathroom.
Mhm.
Um, it does come standard with, whoops. So it comes standard with kind of across from this toilet, a freestanding soaker tub, tile deck soaker tub. If you're someone who does not want or need a soaker tub, you can get rid of it. You could choose to leave the plumbing and maybe bring in your own tub down the road. You could do a freestanding tub rather than a tile deck. Um, or you could put in like maybe a vanity, or I've had people do a water closet in that space rather than the toilet on its own. So a good sized bathroom, and you could absolutely shuffle around if there's things that you feel are lacking or missing.
Mhm. The linen closet, a makeup counter, possibilities.
Possibilities. And then a good sized vanity as a standard. And you'll see here, we have a quartz countertop with undermount sinks. That is now part of our base specs or our standard product. Our quartz countertop, solid surface throughout the whole home. Standard backsplash would be a matching 6 inches of the same quartz, or a subway tile would also be considered standard. So there's lots of good options or design options within the standard of the base price. And then there's a million and one options as far as getting creative and designing outside of it as well. But the two separate sinks, the two separate vanity lights, that's standard for this primary suite. And then that fiberglass shower unit is also standard in this primary bath. So if the bathroom is large enough to allow for a tub and shower separate, that's a shower we would do. And then the shower, again, so many ways to modify and customize it if you have something else in mind.
Mhm.
Sarah, you're in charge. I need another water break. Sorry.
Oh, absolutely. No, no, no. Yeah, go ahead and keep playing it. So this is just a run-of-mill office. So naturally no closet. That is the trigger. You know, um, one thing I'll say, you're gonna get a lot of outlets in the home, a lot of outlets. So code dictates that, oh, something happened, Katie. Katie, something happened. I'll keep talking. But code dictates that outlets are to be, 6 feet apart. So you get lots of outlets in our homes. And so we can always add more. So you're gonna have, 4, 5, sometimes even 6 in bedrooms. So lots of outlets. The one thing I always kind of raise my hand on though is in places you never really think about. Yeah, go ahead and unpause. Yeah. So like a walk-in closet. A closet by code doesn't need an outlet. But as we see on this house, even in the second unit, those closets are good size. So, we could add an outlet in there for a steamer, a set, whatever you want. And then naturally here in this utility room, like I mentioned earlier in regards to the question, this is the same utility room that's on the Blakely. It's on the Bannock, which we're viewing today. It's on the Saratoga. You can absolutely do built-in cabinets. We could have done a bench and cubby. It's hard to see, and maybe if Katie can pause it at the perfect time. There is a pre-plumb in here. So for us to, oh, it's in the corner, it's hard to see.
Oh,
So what a pre-plum is, and we can kind of
Mhm.
see it down in the bottom corner, is it looks like this customer is probably going to finish something out. I noticed the pre-plum and I've noticed the countertop outlets. So we can set up the infrastructure to give way to your goal in the future, and introduce plumbing there. So you can have a utility sink, a dog wash station, a kid wash station. We don't judge, any of those things that you might want. So by no means do we have to finish it all. Budget is typically at the forefront of most of our customers, needs, but we also want to be able to give you the tools that you need to bring it to life in the future.
I do, and I know you touched on future countertops in this room, which we could absolutely provide for you as well.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I love, I think about every single one of our plans. So you'll see behind the door is the built-in storage closet, linens closet, and then the coat closet right here in the entry. So
Mm-hmm.
all of our plans have storage space, storage closets, linen closets, coat closets. Um, and that is not something people ever object to. So it's a nice kind of well thought out, pre-planned, ready-made storage areas.
Mm-hmm. And not even like this, like half bath, it's a really good size. It's not a tunnel, it's not dark, it's not anything. You're gonna get that pedestal. That is our standard plumbing fixture. So brush nickel in the mowing, you're looking at it. And Katie touched on, we're moving ready. So these toilet
Yeah.
paper holders, these towel bars, all these things they come in the base price. So there's
Yeah.
really even like the little details we include.
Yeah. And yesterday you said that you would start providing toilet paper, so
I
even
did.
more move-in ready. And then if there's someone who I've found that people passionately love or hate pedestal sinks. So if you're someone who would prefer a built-in vanity with drop-in sink, absolutely we can make that happen.
Not a problem.
And then the Moen was a good thing to point out, like you pointed out with the Shaw, just nationally recognized brands, well-known, strong warranties.
Mhm. Okay, so we've got a good question. So are utility
Mhm.
sinks typically in the laundry room an upgrade?
Yes, so utility sinks are always optional. They can be in the laundry room, they can be in a garage or wherever you want them. But like Sarah was talking about earlier, you could choose to do a utility sink, like a big freestanding, heavy duty kind of plasticky sink. You could choose to do cabinet with a drop-in sink, or you could even have us just rough plumb for a future sink that you do down the road. So absolutely an option, always considered an upgrade, and then can go wherever you choose.
Yeah, and to just drill in a little bit more, we want to make sure we've got a great house in the base price, but we don't want to be outpricing certain customers. So what we'll do is, because everything's a la carte, we're going to allow you to drive that bus. If you let Katie or myself know that the utility sink was a necessity, okay, by all means, we're going to focus on that before we start talking about anything that would be nice to have in the house. So we want to make sure that we've got a great product, but then allow for everything to be a la carte so you can pick and choose where you're spending the money. Because it naturally comes up a lot. Could have came up, for the windows too. To full wrap a window, it does come at a cost. And so we want to allow our customers to make that choice to determine if it's important to them and if they want to put a portion of their budget towards that. Or if something like a utility sink or more cabinet storage or a tile shower, we just kind of want to put that power in our customers to decide what they want in the house.
That's a good point. I think there's still some people out there who are I built with Adair and I'll say my husband and I are kind of strange and we felt like the house didn't really feel like ours until we did some upgrades on our own. And so we wouldn't it would have felt weird to us to move into just a completed home. And so
Mhm.
things like just having the plumbing roughed in or just having the windows drywall wrapped in, we're slowly but surely doing things on our own. It's a good feeling for
Fun.
us.
Like,
Yeah.
like
So
I'd be the same way because
yeah.
uh, uh, you could be ever evolving,
Mhm.
with your aesthetic. And something that I find as well is people don't necessarily have furniture. Like maybe you sold it, maybe
Yeah.
you got, so is your couch gray? Is it brown?
True.
Do
Yeah.
you, do you have a need for the tub right now, or do you want to be able to pick the exact one? Do you want a crowfoot? Do you want an eggshell one? Do you want a black tub?
Mhm.
I mean, there's so many options. So it is nice to have everything done. Don't get me, it's nice, but
Yeah.
we also don't want anybody to be like, oh, I don't really love it. Like
Yeah.
now that I
Yeah.
see it, I don't really like it. That's what we're really trying to avoid. So if there's ever something with one of my customers and they're on the fence, I, make sure to just reiterate, we could just set up the infrastructure, set you up for success, and this is something that you can create over time because
Yeah.
once it's in it, it's not permanent, but it's a little bit more work to change it.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Okay, so for these last couple bedrooms, the blue tape you'll see, so these are cabinet doors. It looks like that they're just replacing them at this point. But a lot of times, so it's a pre-walk. So before the superintendent comes and meets with you for the final walk, they do a pre-walk. Um, where you go through and you kind of point out things that maybe need touched up or corrected. And then they spend the next week or so correcting those things before they give you the keys and you move in. So a lot of times you'll see on our videos little pieces of blue tape pointing out things that a homeowner has called out as like, oh, I found this thing, or maybe even a superintendent has called out things that need correcting. So there's a good chance on this one that the homeowner or the superintendent was like, you know what, I'm not loving this door or this paint spot, or so things that someone is pointing out they would like some correction on.
Mhm. Which is nice, and I think that gives way, we allow for customers to walk this house.
Uh-oh.
Oh, unexpected error. So we've got some customers that live on site. We've got some customers who walk the house every weekend. By all means, all of that, we encourage it. This is your house. We want to make sure you're seeing it. We want to, oh yeah, we're right about there. And so by all means, and if things come up, don't, say something. Sometimes it's a lot easier to fix it, when we're still in there working through it than waiting until the very end and being like, oh, why I noticed A, B, and C. And it's like, okay, like, so if it's going up and you see something, raise your hand. We don't
Yeah,
mind. We don't mind.
absolutely.
I love the vault in here.
I
Um,
do too. Yeah. The vault's everywhere. The common space of both sides.
Very
And the
warm
primary,
colors. Is
yeah.
this a standard carpet that we're seeing in like all the
Standard
rooms?
carpet,
Mhm.
standard paint scheme. Yep.
Very nice.
And then
Let's see your
also,
cabinets in here. Is
yeah,
this so if we were to go through the threshold, is that countertop one of our standards now?
it's not. Nope, it's
Okay,
very similar to one of our
very
standards now.
similar. It is,
Yes.
yeah.
But the cabinet is a standard. So
Mhm.
the cabinet on both side is a standard. We did a shaker in the bathrooms on the other side, and we did what we call a contempo on this side. So a little bit of extra beveling here. But
Mhm.
both styles are considered standard. The stain is a standard. A plumbing fixture is a light,
Light, the undermount sinks, because we
undermount
do
sink.
solid surface now in the base, all sinks are undermounted, just like we're seeing here. And it
Mhm.
is so similar. If I was to show you this countertop and the one that's standard, most people would be like, are they the
Yeah,
same?
yeah, very pretty, neutral, clean options
Mhm.
within the base price. Yep.
Yeah.
And then if you're someone who's got a very specific vision in mind, so many other options as well.
Yeah, and because we have something like a quartz in the base price, how we operate is everything then is like a tier system. So if you, let's say, didn't have a strong like lust for the base price quartz and you wanted to upgrade to something else, let's say you go to the second tier, that's only going to run you $25 a square foot because we're just charging you the price difference between those two categories. That's all you're doing. And it's the same for our flooring. We build those credits in and we just charge you the cost difference. So when going to different tiers of product like cabinets or flooring or countertops, all of those items. And then just back to what we mentioned earlier, if you, and I think this customer did it in the main home, but if you want your kitchen countertops to be independent and different of your bathroom countertops, not a problem. You can pick and choose where you want to spend the money.
Yep. Price by square foot.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna let this play through again, and then I like to, if we don't have any questions, I like to wrap up with kind of how it all comes together. What are the steps to getting this started? And Adair, one of the beautiful things about being in business for 55 years is that they've really had an opportunity to streamline and fine tune and make this as simple a process as possible. So we've broken it down into 6 steps. And just very generically, the first step is meeting with one of us and getting a good understanding of the process and how it all works and if it's going to work for you. And I will say steps 1 and 2 can be kind of, flip-flopped, but just feeling good about the process and if it's going to fit what you have in mind. And a lot of times people think that there's like prerequisites for one of these meetings. And there's not. I mean, you don't have to have identified property. You don't have to necessarily know your budget yet, although it's incredibly helpful to, for your own planning purposes. You don't have to know a thing about building. So if you get online and you're talking to one of the online consultants and they offer to set up an appointment, go for it. Absolutely. Even if this is a 1 or 2 year down the road plan, by all means, meet with one of us, use us. We're a resource to you. We will help you, even if we help you determine that maybe this isn't a good path for you. We're intended to be a resource to you. Sarah, feel free to add to that.
Yeah. And we're just there. It all comes down to whether or not we're a good fit. You know, building is a fun experience. It's very rewarding, but at the same time, it's not necessarily for everybody. And so we want to take that time to really get to know you, understand your expectations, your wants, because like he said, we're just a resource. I view myself as a coach. Like I'm just there. You're driving the bus. I'm just the GPS. You know, where do we need to stop? What turns do we need to make? But if you want to go fast, we go fast. You want to go slow, we go slow. And I'm sure it's the same for you, Katie. I've got some customers that move through relatively quickly, and I've got some customers that I've worked for a couple years, and that's okay. But the best thing about working, for a couple of years is we know what the expectations are, we know what the goals are, we're making progress. And then step number two, Katie, if you're ready to take back over, by all means, or if you want me to keep going, just
I
like
heard you cough, Sarah. I have somehow contaged you over this virtual
I wasn't
experience.
prepared and I breathed in and then it was like the air hit the back of my throat and I was like, oh.
Step 2, so financing approval. And this can be absolutely step 1. We have in-house financing, Adair Financial, which is incredible. It's incredibly beneficial for so many reasons, but um, one of the awesome things about Adair Financial is that we do a soft credit pull application. So if you're someone who is like, I'm not ready to commit, but I want to know what I qualify for, what my monthly payments would look like if I were to spend this much. Um, do the online application, find out what you qualify for, or talk to a loan officer and find out, say I only want to spend $2,500 a month. What kind of budget should I be looking to, what should be my all-in? So and then the promo rates, I think probably everyone is at this point seeing the promo rates that Adair is offering, which are absolutely incredible. And those rates that you're seeing, the VA, the FHA, and the conventional all are a 30-year fixed rate. So if you're familiar with what else is out there right now, you know how outstanding those are and what a game changer they are. Sarah, go ahead. Water break.
Yeah. No, the one thing I'll say is even if you are planning to wait a little while, I always encourage my customers to get the pre-approval. Nothing would be a worse scenario than we hold off on that. And then when we are ready, we're not financially ready. Okay, we don't, like he said, we don't impact credit. So it allows you to peek behind the curtain, get a good idea for your budget. But then at the same time, if it's not quite where you want it to be, great, now we can put a plan together. Because if we're going to wait until, I don't know, August of 2025 because you're retiring in 2026, okay, well, that's time that we can use. What account should we be paying off? How should we be maneuvering money to put you in a better position that when we're ready, we're going to qualify for the amount? So I always tell my customers, don't hurry up to wait. Sometimes to have those answers is beneficial, especially because we don't impact credit. It is a free service. Like it is going to give you all the tools to be prepared. So I always say just take advantage of it. That's what we're here
Yeah.
for. We're just here to help. And it just offers clarity that you can't get from a normal bank, which is huge.
And then if you end up being someone who is ready to, get started now, that pre-qual will be the key to making an offer on property. And so you don't want that to be something that causes a missed opportunity on property as well. So having that pre-qual, perfect segue into the next step, which is finding the property. And a lot of times people ask if we have leads on property, if we sell property, and the answer is that we do not. We tend to stay out of that land game. However, we have formed some incredible realtor connections with realtors who are competent and experienced in vacant land purchases. So every office, every homeownership counselor at Adair has references or referrals. So if you were to call and say, hey, I'm looking in this area, who do you suggest? We could be like, oh, call Cheyenne, call Katie. These girls will have your back. They're tried and true. We've got great referrals for them, or great reviews from them. So if you're someone who is looking or on the hunt for a realtor, we can give you really, really strong referrals. Go ahead and add to that, Sarah.
Yeah, I was just saying, yeah, and those
Mm.
referrals are tried and true, like Katie was just saying, because it's different to be a realtor who specializes in like real estate purchases, like existing homes, and then a realtor who understands land, understands roughly what a piece of land will cost to develop, can talk through any sort of jurisdictional things that we're going to have to look through. So there's a big difference. I get a lot of customers that are like, oh, my sister-in-law is a realtor. We think we're going to use her. And so somebody like myself and Katie, we will offer up our services to them as well. Even though, they're a realtor, it's their jazz, but they might not know how to make an offer on raw land, how many days to close, what is a feasibility study. So we're here to guide as well if you didn't want to go through our preferred, but it is always, just recommended because those realtors that we build relationships with, we've worked for them and with them for a long time. So there's no falling through the cracks. We're going to have that communication between the back or communication in the background. You're not going to have to play the middleman. If I had a question about whether or not an offer is going in, I don't need to call you. Okay, I'm going to call your realtor. Like, hey, when are we pulling the trigger on this? Where are we standing? So it allows for an easier process too.
Absolutely. And so often people are like, you know what? I've never done this before. I don't know what I'm looking at. But
Mhm.
we do. So use us. We want to take full advantage of that feasibility study that Sarah mentioned. We want to get out there. We want to see this property right away. We want to work through any concerns you have. We want to report on this back to you like, here's what needs to be done for you to build a house here. Here's what it's going to cost you to do it. Here are the steps we're going to take. Do you feel good about this? And this is all going to be done as part of that due diligence period, so that if anything comes up that maybe you're not comfortable with, or maybe you want to change, you have an opportunity to do that before you're locked in on this property.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, and that feasibility study, it's just a window of time to do due diligence. It's your protection period, and we just want to dive into all of the things.
all the things. Yep. Okay, so at this point in the process, you found the property, you know what it's going to cost you to develop it. That's when we want to make the house a focus. So we want to meet with you. We want to go through these floor plans, find the perfect one for you, modify it to fit your needs, price out all of these changes, and then make modifications based on where that price comes in at, what options say, what go, let's perfect the house. Um, that's the funnest part, in my opinion. I don't, do you agree, disagree?
It is, it
Yeah.
absolutely is, but it's structured. For you, we're gonna work your budget backwards. We're gonna come into that meeting knowing what we have left for the home. That's
Yep.
gonna help us dictate exactly which floor plan we should be moving forward with and
Mhm.
how much, wiggle room we have for budget for upgrades. And then we just kind of allow you to explore from there.
Yep. based on your priorities, what, yeah, exactly, what matters most to you.
Mhm,
But we perfect the house, and then
mhm,
you order the house. Easy, easy
mhm,
peasy. And then we take over. And once we take over, we're just regularly, you've got key people throughout the process. So you've got your permits guy and you've got your construction superintendent. And then you've got us the whole time. So what we're doing is just keeping you in the loop. Like, hey, this week we did this, this, and this. Next week we anticipate doing this. Your build is on track to start here, on track to finish here. But really, you kind of just kick back. I mean, move in. We take
mhm.
over, so we're doing final clean, dry out, painting, all of it at this point.
Yeah, and I'd say timeline on that, heavily varies, by jurisdiction. You're gonna have some counties that are really easy, pretty streamlined, and some that are a little bit more difficult. So for example, for me, after a contract's in place, I'm gonna average anywhere between 8 and 11 months until the keys are in your hand. And
Mhm.
that's just based on permit timelines. I've got a county that takes 2 weeks for permits, and I've
Mhm.
got a county that takes 16 weeks.
Yes.
So naturally, that dictates your timeline pretty heavily because we don't control the counties just as much as you don't, unfortunately.
Yeah, my timelines are very similar to yours.
Mhm,
One nice thing though, you're right, we don't control the counties, but we do have really strong relationships with most
mhm,
jurisdictions at this point, and so that I think that's a nice thing too. I talk to people frequently that are like, my friends applied for building permits and it took them a year and a half, and I can say, oh, it takes us an average 3.5 weeks.
mhm.
So those relationships are again a huge resource to you.
It is, and it's also, we've got a lot of pocket knowledge compared to like an average individual.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be able to navigate that process of permits a lot better than just a normal person, just because of that pocket knowledge we have. It's what we
Mhm.
do. We specialize in the house.
Yeah. I just realized what time it is. We weren't kidding with we really like to talk. We weren't messing around.
We
Okay.
did. We went a little over time. So those
Okay.
that have stuck with us, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Sarah, thank you so much for joining and filling in the blanks and dealing with my water breaks. I
Of
appreciate it.
course. Yeah, no.
Um,
Thank everybody else for joining.
yep.
Hopefully everybody has a wonderful holiday season. And if you enjoyed this virtual, there's a lot more that we do. You can check the events tab, on the website. And then of course we always have Facebook Lives every week and everything like that. So definitely a lot more content out there if you're looking to get more information. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this so much that you want to meet with somebody in a branch, just interact with the website. The website's really user friendly and it's got that chat tab down at the bottom. So if you wanted to ask more questions or get in touch with somebody in an individual branch to ask more specific questions about where you're looking to build, just interact with that chat. There are real people behind there. There are 4 lovely ladies that are going to assist and filter through your questions and get you in contact with the people that you need. So, with that, if we don't have any other questions or anything, Katie, let's give them the rest of their
Good.
Thursday.
Until next time. See you all
Perfect.
later.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.